The moment you open your mouth to explain yourself, you've already surrendered. Not because the other person is right, but because you accepted the trial. You stepped into a courtroom that didn't exist until your words built it. And now, you're kneeling before a judge who was never given the right to rule you. Think about it. A subtle insult at dinner, a passive-aggressive remark in a meeting, a lover twisting your intentions. Your chest tightens, your throat burns, your mind scrambles to defend your goodness. So you speak, you justify, you offer proof, and in that instant, you give them something far more valuable than clarity. You give them your frame. Because this has nothing to do with truth. It's about control. People don't accuse to understand. They accuse to see if you'll flinch. And the moment you explain, you confirm it. Yes, your perception defines my reality. You learned this long ago, not in adulthood, but in childhood. Accused of something, your only weapon was performance. If you explained well enough, you were safe. So you became fluent in submission. You called it honesty, but it was survival. Now you're grown, but the ritual remains. You keep proving, keep pleading, keep building courtrooms for people who never earned the right to judge you. And here's the truth no one tells you. Explanation is not power, it's performance. It's the soft language of fear disguised as reason. And manipulators? They smell that fear like blood in the water. This isn't a lesson in how to argue better. It's a funeral. We are going to bury the part of you that begs to be understood, the part that confuses validation with value, the part that gives its power away for a moment of approval. You are not here to be decoded. You are not on trial, and you owe no one an explanation for existing. This is the psychology of no defense, the art of silence as pressure, detachment as power, shadow work as immunity. If you're ready to kill the instinct that makes you explain, not suppress it, but end it, then let's begin. But be warned, the need to be understood dies hard. Before you ever learned the word defense, you were already doing it. You were small, powerless, surrounded by giants who held the authority to punish or protect. Their love wasn't unconditional, it had terms, and you learned them quickly. When they frowned, you explained. When they questioned, you pleaded. When they accused, you performed. They asked, "Did you do this?" But what they meant was, "Prove to me you deserve peace." So you responded with instinct, not logic. "It wasn't me. I didn't mean to." He started it. You weren't chasing truth, you were chasing safety. And when your explanation worked, something deeper clicked. A pattern, a survival code. Defend, and you avoid pain. That pattern carved itself into your nervous system, and it stayed there. Quiet, patient, waiting. Now you're an adult, but the training never left. You think you're having mature conversations. You're not. You're reenacting childhood rituals with adult costumes. Your boss questions your decision. You defend. Your partner expresses disappointment. You explain. A stranger throws shade online. You clarify, justify, type out your intent. You think you're being mature, measured, transparent. But you're not speaking to them. You're speaking to the ghost of authority, the one who once held your safety in their hands. And that ghost still haunts you. Here's the brutal truth. Explaining isn't always about clarity. Most of the time, it's about permission. You're still asking, did I do okay? Do you still approve of me? Am I still safe? You've carried that courtroom with you. Set it up in every interaction. Let everyone, friends, lovers, bosses, strangers, play the judge. You hand them the gavel. You present the evidence. You wait for the verdict. And every time you do, you reinforce the lie that your worth must be proven, that your intent must be defended, that someone else holds the key to your peace. They don't. The truth? You were programmed to explain. It was installed like software when you were too young to reject it, and no one came to uninstall it, so it stayed, running in the background, wasting your energy, leaking your power, making you play small in rooms you were born to command. That ends now. This is not just about behavior. This is about origin, about shadow, about memory. You don't even realize you're still obeying. If you don't kill this reflex, it will keep killing your presence, softly, silently. Every time you open your mouth to explain, that child inside you is still asking for permission to exist. And that child doesn't need comfort. He needs to grow up. Explaining feels noble. It feels mature, like an act of honesty. But in the realm of power, it's something else entirely. It's submission. It's performance. It's the silent confession that someone else's perception defines your identity. You think you're clearing the air. You're not. You're kneeling. You've accepted the trial. You're no longer an equal in the conversation. You've become the accused, begging for a favorable verdict. And here's the worst part. Most of the time, the trial was never real until you stepped into it. When someone throws a casual insult or a passive accusation and you respond with a defense, you've just validated their frame. You've made their words matter. You've declared, without realizing it, this has power over me. Manipulators understand this instinct better than you do. They don't accuse to uncover truth. They accuse to provoke exposure. Every explanation is a leak. Every sentence, a breadcrumb trail to your fears. I'm not selfish. Now they know, being seen that way shakes you. I'm not incompetent. Now they know what label makes you spiral. In a single moment, you've handed them your insecurities, mapped out your emotional pressure points, and said, "Here, use these later." You call it transparency. They see it as access. You think you're being honest. They smell fear. And society rewards this. It sells you the lie that clarity is strength, that if you just explain well enough, people will understand, respect, forgive. But that's not how power works. In power dynamics, words are not protection, they're exposure. You don't defend your character with facts. You reveal your need to be seen as good. You don't win respect by explaining. You bleed it out in slow, desperate sentences. And the more you talk, the more you sink. The truth is simple. Explanation is not clarity. It's codependency dressed as logic. It's fear wrapped in rationality. It's the child inside you still begging not to be punished. And every time you open your mouth to explain, you're not standing up for yourself. You're shrinking into a version of you that believes peace is something you have to earn with evidence. But you don't owe anyone that anymore. Not your boss, not your lover, not a stranger, not your past. Your silence is not passive. It is power. It is the end of performance. It is the moment you stop handing people a map to your weaknesses and start building a life where your truth doesn't beg to be believed. It simply is. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forces in human interaction. Most see it as emptiness, as lack, the absence of argument, the failure to respond, the sign of retreat. But in the realm of power, silence is neither void nor weakness. It is weight, pressure, authority. It is the moment the game stops because one player refuses to play. When someone attacks you with accusation, they are not seeking truth. They are seeking movement. They want to see you flinch. They want to provoke your words, your energy, your justification. And when you do respond, they win not because they were right, but because they controlled the tempo. But if you do nothing, if you hold still and let their words hang unanswered in the air, the dynamic breaks. The silence begins to echo. And that echo is terrifying. Imagine someone says, "You're being selfish." The old version of you would rush to defend. "I'm not. I did X, Y, Z for you." But now, you say nothing. You look at them, flat eyes, still face. No apology, no explanation, just silence. And in that space, something ancient wakes up inside them. Discomfort, doubt. They start to backpedal. I mean, not always, but lately. They speak again not to clarify, but to fill the unbearable quiet. Because silence, when wielded with composure, becomes a mirror. And most people cannot stand to see themselves reflected without distortion. They crumble not because you fought, but because you didn't. This is not passive silence. It is strategic, surgical. It doesn't retreat. It exposes. It returns the emotional burden to its sender. You are not absorbing their projection. You are forcing them to carry it alone. And when they feel the weight of their own words, unacknowledged, unreciprocated, they begin to question their own position. That is where power lives. Not in shouting louder, not in being right, but in being unmoved. Your nervous system will rebel. It will beg you to speak. Your conditioning will scream, "Fix this, soften this, make it right." But if you can hold, if you can stay inside that silence just long enough, you will watch the entire structure of manipulation begin to crack. The need for defense collapses, the courtroom dissolves, and you are left with nothing but gravity, a presence too heavy to be pushed, too still to be provoked. And in a world addicted to noise, that stillness becomes magnetic. You are not empty when you're silent. You are concentrated, distilled, and in that distillation, your power becomes undeniable. Most people, when insulted, rush to deny. "I'm not like that. You misunderstood me. That's not true. It's a trap." The moment you defend, you validate. You've just confirmed that their accusation carries enough weight to threaten your identity. But there's a darker, sharper response. One that flips the entire dynamic without breaking a sweat. You agree, and then you amplify. You take their insult, stretch it to absurdity, and hand it back like a gift wrapped in indifference. It's not deflection, it's dominance disguised as humor. You're so obsessed with money. Absolutely. I swim in gold coins every morning, just like a cartoon villain. You're arrogant, charming, and superior. Yes, it's a burden I carry well. You don't care about anyone but yourself. I'm working on it. You're next in line, right after my dog and my Wi-Fi connection. These aren't just jokes, they are weapons. Delivered flat, calm, slight smirk maybe, no apology, no pause. Just quiet confidence laced with mockery. And what do? They destroy the frame. The attacker came for blood. They wanted submission, not satire. But now their serious accusation looks like a tantrum. Their weapon has turned into a toy in your hands. Because you're not rejecting the label, you're dancing with it. And no one dances with what they fear. You've shown that the accusation doesn't touch you, that it rolls off like smoke, that you are unshaken, unimpressed, and above the performance. This is amused mastery, the art of turning conflict into theater and refusing to play the victim. It confuses, it disarms, it reminds the attacker that you are not a participant in their frame. You are the one setting the tone. And when they realize they can't provoke you, they start to shrink. Not because you fought back, but because you didn't even blink. But there's a caveat. This only works if it's real. If your voice shakes or your eyes dart, the spell breaks. Power isn't in the words, it's in the delivery, in the stillness beneath the smirk. In the unbothered calm that says, "I see what you're doing, and I'm not playing your game." When you master this, you become something rare, a person who cannot be insulted because they've already made peace with their own darkness. You are no longer defending a perfect image, you are owning the shadows, and that makes you ungovernable. The reason most people defend themselves isn't logic, it's fear. Not fear of the accusation, but fear that it might be true. That somewhere beneath the surface, they suspect the label fits. That's why the insult lands. That's why they flinch. And that's why shadow work is the most dangerous thing you can ever do. Because once you've met your own darkness, no one else can weaponize it. When someone says, "You're selfish," and your immediate instinct is, "No, I'm not," it's not about them. It's about the part of you that's unsure, that still seeks permission to exist. But what if you had already stared that trait in the face? What if you had acknowledged the selfish part of you and said, "Yes, sometimes I am"? Now, when the accusation comes, it lands on solid ground. It doesn't rattle you, it doesn't sting, it just rests. And then it dissolves, because nothing sticks to someone who is already whole. This is the essence of fogging. It's not defiance, it's not resistance, it's agreement without shame. You messed up this report. Yes, I did. I'll fix it. Full stop. No excuse, no backstory, no emotional performance, just ownership. This is what rattles people. They expect you to spiral. They want to see guilt, tension, panic. Instead, they get poise, calm, control. And that calmness throws them into chaos, because now their attack feels absurd, disproportionate, almost childish. You're not denying the facts, you're denying their power to define you. And that distinction is everything. You're saying, yes, the report had mistakes, but you're refusing to let that sentence become, I am incompetent. That gap is where sovereignty lives. Most people don't see it. They collapse the action into identity. One failure becomes a character flaw. One mistake becomes a verdict. But you separate them. And by doing that, you reclaim authority over your self-concept. This kind of ownership terrifies manipulators because it gives them nothing to grab onto. You're not defensive. You're not reactive. You're still, like fog, like water, like something they cannot pierce. Their words slide off. Their judgments evaporate. And now they're left standing with their sword drawn, looking foolish because you refuse to fight. True confidence is not loud. It's not brash. It's not some theatrical display of self-belief. It's quiet integration. It's knowing your darkness so well that you're no longer afraid of being exposed. Because you've already exposed yourself to yourself. There's nothing left to fear, nothing left to prove, and that makes you dangerous in the most elegant way. You're not building walls, you're becoming vapor, and you cannot hurt what you cannot hold. Every conflict is a frame battle, a hidden courtroom. Someone accuses, someone responds, someone questions, someone justifies. One plays the judge, the other the defendant. And the moment you step into their frame to explain, you've already accepted the role. It doesn't matter how calm you sound or how logical your response is. You've conceded that their perception requires correction, that their judgment deserves a defense, and in that instant, you lose authority. You've entered a game they control. But what if you didn't respond? What if, instead of playing the accused, you flipped the entire architecture? You don't answer their question. You question their question. You don't clarify your position. You interrogate their motive. Why does that matter to you? What exactly are you trying to say? Is that how you usually resolve conflict? In seconds, the frame flips. Now they're the one under scrutiny. They're the one explaining. You've taken the spotlight and turned it around. And most people can't handle it. Because they weren't looking for truth. They were looking for control. And you've just stripped it from them without raising your voice. You didn't argue. You reframed. And reframing is the most dangerous form of power. It doesn't resist their accusation. It dissolves it. It exposes the manipulation underneath the question. And in doing so, it makes them vulnerable, unprepared, off balance, like a hunter who just became the prey. This isn't about being clever. It's about being sovereign, about refusing to step into their courtroom and choosing to burn it instead. You don't owe them a performance. You don't owe them emotional clarity. You are not on trial. There is no judge. There is no jury. There is only you deciding what lens this conversation will pass through. And when you make that shift, the entire energy of the exchange changes. They begin to hesitate, to rephrase, to soften their tone. Not because you overpowered them, but because you made it clear you won't play the game. You won't kneel. You won't answer. You'll watch, observe, and decide if they're even worth engaging with at all. That level of detachment is unsettling. It reminds people that respect is not something they can demand. It's something they must earn. So next time someone throws you a loaded question, don't bite, don't argue. Just tilt your head and ask, why are you asking that? And let the silence stretch. Let the discomfort rise. Let them feel the weight of a spotlight they never wanted. That's how you reclaim the frame. Not with force, with presence, with control, with the quiet certainty of someone who no longer explains because they no longer need to. Now you know. Every time you explain, justify, or defend, you are not protecting your truth. You are leaking power. You are agreeing silently, subtly, that someone else's perception is a courtroom and your identity is on trial. This is not about facts. It never was. It's about frame. And the one who accepts the frame loses the game. You've seen the patterns. How defensiveness is born in childhood, shaped by fear and weaponized by manipulators. How silence is not absence but control. How agreeing and amplifying turns attack into theater. How shadow work dissolves shame. How flipping the frame turns questions into mirrors. Now comes the real test application. For the next 7 days, you are forbidden to defend yourself. Not once. No explanations, no clarifications, no softening the edge of your truth to be more digestible. When the moment comes, and it will, and someone challenges you, blames you, misrepresents you, you stay still. You do not justify, you do not perform, you let them say what they say, and you let it hang in the air like smoke, untouched, undisturbed. You show up late. You say, "I'm late." That's it. No traffic story, no alarm excuse. You knock something over. "I knocked it over." No blaming the angle, the distraction, the object itself. Someone misreads your intent. Let them. Let them craft their narrative. You don't correct it. You don't rewrite it. You let it be wrong. And you watch. You watch how they react when you don't collapse into performance. You watch how silence shifts the energy. How their expectation of resistance leaves them unanchored when you give them nothing. More importantly, you watch yourself. You watch how your body fights you, the throat tightening, the breath shortening, the urge to plead your case rising like an old ghost. You sit in that fire, and you do not move, because that fire is not destruction, it is transformation. Every second you stay in it, the child in you who once begged for permission starts to die. And something else starts to rise, a quiet, cold clarity. The kind that doesn't flinch, the kind that doesn't owe, the kind that doesn't ask to exist. People around you will notice. They won't say it out loud, but they will feel it, the shift, the gravity, the absence of apology. They will test you, some gently, some aggressively, trying to pull you back into the dance. But you don't dance, you don't explain, you don't defend, you reign. This is not just a challenge, it is a ritual, a severing from the reflex of self-erasure, a return to self-possession. You do not need to be understood to be powerful, you only need to be whole. So take the 7 days, say nothing you don't mean, justify nothing you don't need, and when they come with noise, let it pass. Let it echo, let it burn, because the one who does not defend cannot be touched.